Good morning. This is probably so loud. I'm gonna shout just in case, okay? Gosh, it's gonna be a little weird to be authentic at this volume, but freaking this morning, my first order was like something and 3 things of baby formula. And I was just texting my boyfriend like 2 nights ago about how I can't stand the idea of going back to school because like half of everyone's like ableist as fuck without wanting to acknowledge it, that what they're doing is in fact ableism. And because like what I said to him was like, yes, we are all in this together in that we are all having an equally hard time getting our fucking beanbag sofas delivered directly to our front doors in the timeline expected. However, there are like sick people who don't have medication, and like now there are babies who don't have formula, and that's not exclusively because of COVID, but the supply chain issues are a non-zero contributing factor to what's going on. And like, it just made me feel really sad. It made me think about how I saw the formula on the GoPuff store last night and saw there was so much still in stock, and then I thought when I was driving this order how I should go back on my Facebook where all I do is trauma dump and post my GoPuff referral link and but I don't even know that many people with kids, but maybe someone does, and be like, hey, this is here's a referral link, we both get a discount, and then I get discounts as well, so great. And then I kind of decided to just move on from thinking about that for a while, and then I was waiting to turn on 82nd, and now I forgot. I'm on 82nd right now, but going the other way, just for what it's worth. My hands are sanitized, by the way. Getting ready to turn on 82nd, and I remembered how yesterday after I went to Buffalo Exchange and they didn't buy most of my shit as usual, but they did buy enough that I got a really cute pair of shoes and a really nice pair of earrings, and I only had to pay like $6 real. But when I was looking, I hadn't even seen the stuff that was in the bag for a long time because it's just been sitting in a bag for a long time. And I was seeing her like go through all the things, and I was like, a lot of these are like way too nice to just fucking take to Goodwill, but they literally don't fit me. And then I was like, I'll find a freaking women's shelter and drop it off specifically there, so it's going to the people who need it most at the cost I agree with. I forgot to be yelling! And I was thinking about how yesterday when I had that idea and I was Googling the places to go, and all of them only have like a couple days a month where you can do drop-offs, and you know, one of them did a really good job explaining that it's like so that the people who work and volunteer there can spend their time doing like actual services directly for the women and children they're serving. And yesterday I was thinking how like to make those trips really worth it, and both of them are like during school hours. One of them is only full-time school hours, but one of them everyone is in school. At the one place I looked, at least. But if I could even do a half day on the Saturday and just leave early and make it there. It's the 3rd Saturday of every month. And so I was thinking about like posting on Instagram and asking all my beauty school friends, let's go through our closets together. Fucking, if it doesn't spark joy, give it to me after school this week, whatever week, you know. Give it to me after school on such and such week, and then I'll drive all of our stuff to the donation center all together, and it'll be quick and easy and nice. And I was thinking about how I couldn't remember which one I was thinking of that had that schedule, and I didn't really like compare any of them. I don't know if one's better or worse. I don't know if I agree with one more or less. I don't know if one is in a part of the city that's more profoundly impacted by these types of issues. Like, I don't know. I'm just gonna go with the one that I can literally get to. And because I was thinking about how, like, one of them I read and it had some particular religious affiliation, and then another one did too, but of a different genre, and then I'm sure they all do, and like Goodwill doesn't pay their employees well enough, and like vegan peanut butter sometimes has palm oil in it, like, and doesn't matter if the women and children's shelter is affiliated with a religious organization I don't agree with, even if members of the same organization cause harm to women and children. Like, these people right here are doing a thing I care about and have been doing it for a long time. So, like, there's no ethical consumption under capitalism. And what I realized right as the light was changing to turn left was that, like, when you're looking at this issue, it doesn't matter what the church has done if the church is the only people doing something for the people who are having these problems that still exist. Like, just because I wish I could give my old clothes to an organization that didn't have anything to do with any God, that didn't have anything to do with any, like, psychological trauma and physical trauma being done unto others, like, even if there was some beautiful, immaculate virgin organization doing this shit, they might only have drop-offs on days where I have to be in school. And so, like, you just do what you can with what you've got. And even if there was that, like, perfect, untarnished thing that existed, like, I was just crying because, like, what still sucks is that the problem they're trying to serve is still a problem. And it's a problem enough that there's at least half a dozen organizations in just this city, specifically women's shelters, who accept clothes. That's what Google said, at least. I guess I didn't, like, read all of them. Don't quote me on it. At least half a dozen is probably a really gross underestimate. And then I was turning left to get off of 82nd, getting close to my delivery, and I saw a person getting off the bus and a person who was already at the bus stop, and they both looked like they were experiencing homelessness, and they both looked like they were experiencing some pretty severe mental health problems. And I felt really bad for them. Because that's what I usually always do. Because I just think, like, I wouldn't want to be experiencing that much distress and confusion out in public and no one's helping me and people just get mad at me. And I wouldn't want to be sitting in the grass dirty and stinky and dirty clothes and, like, I know, like, sometimes I complain because, like, laundry's hard to do, but I can do my laundry, and, like, there are people who are just, like, so fucking shitty and mean. There are people who are just, like, implicitly mad when they see a person experiencing homelessness, and I just don't fucking get it. Because I wouldn't want to be in those shoes. I think about it for even just a second, and it really hurts to think about being in those shoes. And it's really scary. It's scary to think about, and it makes me feel bad for them. It makes me wish I could do something. And obviously there's a line to be drawn when someone, regardless of how bad we might feel for them and regardless of the cause of their behavior, sometimes their behavior can become dangerous or frightening. And I can understand how that has an impact on the other person witnessing or experiencing it. But, like, everything's nuanced. Like, that's the thing. Everything's more nuanced than anyone wants to admit. No one wants to actually think about stuff. Like, I wonder how many, like, I wonder how much worse the formula crisis would be if all those women hadn't been getting abortions the last couple years. Like, sustainability is a lot more complicated than glass is better than plastic, but, like, no one wants to think about that. People just want to buy something with a leaf printed on it and think they're doing the right thing. And, like, Eco-anxiety is a real diagnosable disorder that exists now. And like I said, there is no ethical consumption under capitalism. And we just have to wait for it to burn itself to the ground. And like, women and children are still being abused and battered. Like, mostly by people they trust. Trusted. Like people who they assume care about them. I guess that's about it. Those are the three main things I thought of that I wanted to share while I was driving my first order. A lot of things I see remind me of just how absolutely powerless I feel, and kind of for anyone, but I will say, you know, especially for me with my perception and my history of experiences, like feeling powerless is just so absolutely horrifying. Like, it's not even scary, it horrifies me. It feels like impending death. It feels like I myself am about to experience trauma because I can't do anything about what's going on. And I know that's not the technical truth, but that's how it feels to me in my head and my body. So it's really hard to cope with going out and doing stuff and talking to people, especially when you try and talk to people and they just refuse to listen, or they refuse to understand you, or they act like you're talking nonsense, or they act like you're being illogical, or they act like you're overreacting. When in fact, you just can see and are trying to say what the fuck is going on actually. People don't always like it when you're honest, and people really don't like it when you're smart, especially if you're smart and pretty. Especially if you're smart and pretty and crazy. They don't like it, and they don't like you for it. And sometimes they act overtly horrible about it, and sometimes they say these like sneaky or subversive or insidious or like double spoken things, and eventually it just gets in your head like worms chasing each other in circles. And all those worms start to get kind of freaky, man. Starts to get really freaky, feeling like no one understands you, even though you've read and learned and listened to a lot, and you've thought really critically and abstractly. You've done lateral and vertical and I can't remember the name of the third one, but it's a combination of lateral and vertical thinking. I don't think it's called abstract thinking, but I think it might be kind of similar to that. And just because I don't know the word for one thing doesn't mean I don't know far more about the topic than whoever's talking to me about whatever, like, one pop article they read the headline of. I wonder if the anti-choice forced birthers think abortion should be illegal everywhere or only in America. I really was wondering that earlier. because I feel like it would probably only be in America, because, well, only in like predominantly white and wealthy countries, because like, fuck poor brown people. I get burnt from going outside in the sun. I'm better than you. I steal anything I want and then I destroy it as rapidly as I can. I deserve more than you. But kids these days are sure entitled. Fucking Dr. Oz isn't even a doctor. Fucking talking about whether people need to go back to work or not. Fucking talking about how weed keeps people home. I heard an adult man who, on the fucking irrelevant news today, there was some adult man, hold on, there's some sirens coming. I saw some fucking adult man on his podcast or radio show or whatever the fuck, not Def Noodles himself, but whoever the fuck was on at that last clip there, talking about fucking dicks getting smaller and girls going through puberty earlier and 3-year-olds having their periods and 5-year-old girls being pregnant. Tell me, sir, how does a 5-year-old get pregnant? And if she does, can she have an abortion or not? Because we care about the children, right? It's about the children, not about policing the bodies of women. And not only the physical bodies of women, but by extension, their whole fucking lives. The way they spend their time and energy. The way for years, perhaps, the way they spend the calories they ingest. For really their whole life, running around chasing kids, never mind just breastfeeding, which you have to do because there's no fucking formula anymore, and if you're not breastfeeding, you're a bad mom anyway. But don't do it in public because that's indecent, and my family doesn't need to see your exposed breast. Unless if it's on, you know, like an advertisement for chicken wings. Or body spray. Or fucking wet butt wipes because men can't clean their asses well enough to keep their underwear unstained. When I fucking told my brother I was sexually assaulted for the 2nd time in 2 years, and that I was having severe symptoms of PTSD, one of the things he said to me was, well, fight back. And I'm not even going to get into all the problems I've already described about that, about like victim blaming and not listening to me telling it's victim blaming and like doubling in on what he fucking said and like, never mind all that. But like in life, when men are infringing upon my rights, when men are scaring me, when men are making my life bad, when men are potentially traumatizing me, and I try and fight back about it, I get called crazy. Like the fact that the word feminazi even exists. Like, I didn't even know what Nazis were until 8th grade. I had this weird thing where somehow, up until I was like 13 years old, I'd never heard the word Holocaust. I didn't know who Adolf Hitler was. I didn't think anything about Jewish people one way or the other. I didn't know they had any shared experiences. I don't know. Never wondered. I knew they had a different holiday. I knew it was like Christianity before it was cool. I get it. But I never knew about those atrocities. And then once I learned, I wouldn't just throw that word around. And especially to apply it to, like, the class who is indeed underprivileged and discriminated against, and, like, at times to a fatal degree. But yeah, women are the ones running concentration camps. Women are the one ruining the lives of male rights activists. And I've never heard a male feminist be called a feminazi. Isn't that interesting? Like, we can disagree with a man without fucking villainizing him. Weird. Weird. I feel a little bad that all I've talked about today is horrible and deplorable things. But, like, that's all I'm thinking about, so it is what it is. I'm gonna be back at headquarters in 1 minute, so I'm gonna get going. Bye. Thanks for coming to my Luna Talk.